Thanks, Andrew. Well, firstly, can I welcome the announcement that you've made today, but more particularly as well on behalf of the Premier, is the engagement that we've had in relation to the identification of the shortfalls in the skills and those gaps in the labour market. And there's no doubt for some time there has been gaps between where the priority migration skilled occupation list is and where state needs are. So from my perspective as Premier of New South Wales, I think there's two ways of looking at this. We need to immediately address where the pressing challenges are and where those shortages arise, and they're obviously in areas that have been raised today: healthcare, aged care, construction, engineering, other areas like childcare as well. I think these are areas we need to address immediately. And then there are long-term solutions that we need going into the future that's going to drive opportunity and productivity. So from a short-term perspective, I think a lot of those areas have been addressed in the announcement that you've made, and the engagement that the Commonwealth's had with the states has been pleasing. But whether it's accelerating visa processing for skilled migrants, it shouldn't be the case that in countries like Canada that's taking 2 weeks, whereas in Australia that's taking months. So we need to resolve that quickly, and I think the announcement today will go some way to doing that. Pathways for permanency as well, that's been raised and that's supported by us. Accreditation, that's something as well that needs to be addressed, that we need to move both at a Commonwealth and state level on together. I agree with Anastasia in relation to finding those opportunities for pensioners in certain targeted areas who want to return to the workforce, particularly in, say, aged care and healthcare, that they should not be financially penalised. Complicated, but something that we need to work on, as well as has been raised, students. So students who are here, they've got their qualification. How do we move them towards permanency and a greater residency status? But simply adding more people is only a short-term outcome, and I agree with Joe's point. In relation to once people come, we need to, in the long term, be investing in those areas, which is going to drive opportunities for them to stay in those professions moving forward, and also providing opportunities for our people. I think the solution here is something that we're seeing a lot more of now, and that's the states and the Commonwealth working together in areas they might not have otherwise done so. And ending the blame game between, well, this is the Commonwealth's responsibility and this is the state's responsibility. We saw that in the Commonwealth Government's announcement yesterday in respect of TAFE, which is something that's traditionally been in our area. But I think these are ways in which, whilst the state and territory governments invest in fee-free apprenticeships and TAFE places and look at ways in which we can drive those opportunities, that should be complemented by the Commonwealth Government, and we're seeing that. And we've done the same thing, particularly in childcare in New South Wales in our most recent budget, which is something that we could have said, well, that's really an area of responsibility for the Commonwealth Government. We've put a $5 billion package together to help drive greater childcare, particularly in where we have childcare deserts. That's a benefit for our state because it's going to drive women participation, but also economic opportunity for New South Wales. So these are the areas, I think, going forward, rather than saying that's in the domain of the Commonwealth, this is in the domain of states. If we can work together on driving those investments, that's going to provide greater opportunity and productivity in the future.
Thanks, Premier. Really constructive response, entirely in keeping with the purpose of this summit. Something that a challenge that we can really work with. I might throw now to Abul Rizvi